Christian Dior. You hear the name and you immediately think luxury, right? But the story here isn't just about fancy clothes. It's really about one man, a single, powerful idea, and a flat-out revolution that completely changed fashion right after its darkest period. Okay, so picture this. It's Paris, 1947. The city's just starting to breathe again after World War II. For years, fashion was all about rationing and austerity. Think boxy, practical, kind of grim. And then this one designer puts on his first ever show, and the editor of Harper's Bazaar, Carmel Snow, says just 5 words that give it a name that would stick for, well, forever. And just like that, everything changed. But why? What was so radical about these clothes? And who was the guy behind it all? A man, by the way, whose family really did not want him going into fashion. To really get what made the new look so revolutionary, we've got to go back to the man himself. The story starts way before the first dress was even made. So Christian Dior's path to the runway was anything but straight. His wealthy family wanted him to be a diplomat, but his real passion was art. He even opened a gallery, selling work by artists like Picasso. But then the Great Depression hit, and that dream fell apart. He had to pivot, sketching for other designers, serving in the military. It was a long, winding road before he finally got the backing to open his own house in 1946. And you know, during those early tough years, he learned from the absolute best. He always said it was the designer Robert Puget who taught him the most important lesson, that real elegance isn't complicated. It comes from a powerful kind of simplicity. But here's where it gets interesting. Behind this super elegant artist was a man who was, well, full of contradictions. He was incredibly superstitious. I mean, he would not make a big move without talking to his clairvoyant. He carried lucky charms everywhere. And get this, the only reason he accepted the money to start the House of Dior was because 2 different psychics told him it was the right move. So here we are. We've got this artist, this reluctant designer, this superstitious visionary, all ready to show the world his very first collection. And the world, which was just desperate for something beautiful after years of war, was about to get it. You cannot overstate how dramatic the change was. I mean, look at this. You go from wartime fashion, boxy, saving every scrap of fabric, to Dior's new look. Suddenly, you have these soft shoulders, tiny little waists, and these huge, full skirts using yards and yards of fabric. It wasn't just a new style, it was a total rejection of everything that came before. It was a celebration. Fun fact, Dior didn't even call it the new look. His name for the collection was corolle, which is like the petals of a flower. He wanted women to look like they were blooming. The show had 90 different outfits, but the one that became the absolute icon was the bar suit. The effect was instantaneous. It was luxurious, it was feminine, and in a single afternoon, Paris was back on the map as the undisputed fashion capital of the world. And this wasn't just a fashion moment, it was a full-blown economic phenomenon. Just think about this. By 1949, Dior's fashion made up 75% of all of Paris's fashion exports. And even crazier, it was 5% of France's entire export revenue. One guy's vision was literally helping rebuild a country's economy. But not everyone was a fan. A lot of people thought using all that fabric was completely wasteful after years of rationing. Some feminists saw the corsets and structured designs as a huge step backward for women's freedom. There was even a real protest group called the League of Broke Husbands. And of course, his biggest rival, Coco Chanel, had this absolutely savage takedown, saying only a man who'd never been with a woman could make something so uncomfortable. Ouch. So in just 10 short years, Christian Dior built this massive global empire. But the brand's greatest challenge was just around the corner. What happens to the House of Dior when there's no more Dior? And then, just like that, it was over. 10 years after his big debut, while on vacation in Italy, Christian Dior died of a sudden heart attack. He was only 52. The man who changed everything was gone, and the house that was built entirely on his personal vision was left completely rudderless. So this was the question everyone was asking. The whole industry was just watching and waiting. Could the magic of Dior possibly exist without the man himself? Well, the answer turned out to be a whole line of incredible designers. First up was Dior's own hand-picked successor, a 21-year-old kid named Yves Saint Laurent. He made things a bit more daring. After him, Marc Bohan came in and stabilized things for 30 years with a more classic, wearable style. Then you had visionaries like Gianfranco Ferré and, of course, the incredibly theatrical John Galliano. Each one took the Dior DNA and made it their own. The brand didn't just survive, it kept evolving. But the creative vision is only half the story. Because on the business side of things, Dior was about to go through another massive revolution. Okay, fast forward to the early 80s. The textile company that actually owned Dior went bankrupt. A super ambitious investor, Bernard Arnault, saw his chance. He bought the whole bankrupt company for basically nothing, one symbolic franc, because he really only wanted one thing, the crown jewel, Christian Dior. And what Arnault told DeWitt the company was just explosive. He used Dior as the cornerstone to build the luxury giant we now know as LVMH. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. You go from about 129 million in revenue in 1990 to over 79 times billion euros in 2022. It went from being a famous fashion house to the engine of a global luxury empire. But when you become a global giant like that, you're operating under a global microscope. And in the 21st century, that's meant facing some really new and complicated challenges. As Dior got bigger, the scrutiny got more intense. The brand has had to deal with accusations of cultural appropriation for designs that looked a little too similar to traditional clothing from places like Romania and China. That really kicked off a big debate about where inspiration ends and appropriation begins. And it's not just cultural issues. Just this year, an Italian subsidiary came under fire for some serious ethical questions about how workers were being treated in their supply chain. And this comment here from someone on Instagram during that skirt controversy really nails the modern dilemma. The point isn't that you can't be inspired. The point is that you have to give credit and show respect, especially in our hyper-connected world. So you go from one superstitious designer's wild idea to this unbelievably massive global empire. The story of Dior is all about constant change, but it leaves us with this one big question. Can a brand that was born in a single world-changing moment stay revolutionary forever? Or does it eventually become the very tradition that a new revolution will have to fight against?